deep in the lowland forests of Southeast Asia, most of the forest floor's residents never see daylight. This is where Suri begins her life, in a burrow her mother dug beneath a tangle of roots. She is a Sunda pangolin, one of 8 pangolin species left in the world. 4 species live in Asia, 4 more live across Africa. The pangolin family has existed for roughly 80 million years, largely unchanged. At birth, Suri's scales are soft, almost pink, pressed flat against her skin. They will harden as she grows, plate by plate, year by year. For now, her only real protection is her mother. Suri will spend her first weeks riding on the base of her mother's tail. Wherever her mother goes, she goes too, curled against warm scales. It is the safest place in the forest. Her mother rarely strays far from the burrow in these early days. She is fiercely protective and will defend her pup against almost anything that comes near. By night, her mother moves through the undergrowth in near silence. Pangolins are nocturnal. What happens after dark is a world few humans ever witness. Her mother stops at a termite mound and begins to dig. Powerful claws tear through packed earth and hardened clay in seconds. A pangolin has no teeth, it doesn't need them. Its tongue, longer than its own body and rooted deep near the pelvis, does the work instead. Thick saliva coats the tongue, and insects stick to it as it sweeps through the tunnels. In a single night, an adult pangolin can eat up to 20,000 ants and termites. Over a full year, that adds up to tens of millions of insects. Suri watches from her mother's back, close enough to learn every movement. Weeks pass. She grows steadier on her own feet and begins to explore just beyond the burrow entrance. Her first attempt at digging is clumsy. The mound barely gives. She tries again and again. This patience will define the rest of her life. Her scales begin to harden plate by plate, overlapping like the scales of a pine cone. They are made of keratin, the same material as human hair and fingernails. By the time she is fully grown, they will cover nearly her entire body except her belly. One day, without being taught, Suri curls into a tight ball. It is instinct, not imitation, something written into her long before birth. That single motion is the most important skill she will ever learn. She practices climbing next, gripping bark with sharp, curved claws built for digging, not for speed. Some pangolin species live mostly in trees, sleeping curled in the branches. Others, like many Sunda pangolins, rest in burrows dug deep into the earth. Suri will learn to do both, at ease on the ground and above it. She begins marking her surroundings the way her mother does, with scent from a gland near her tail. It is how solitary animals like pangolins recognize one another without ever meeting. Months pass. She begins to forage a short distance from her mother, then further still. A pangolin pup can stay close to its mother for up to 2 years. But independence, when it comes quickly and often without warning. She swallows small stones as she feeds, tiny grinding stones that help break down her food. Without teeth, this is how her stomach does the work her mouth cannot. The forest around her hides more of these mounds than most animals ever notice. Termites build fortresses of packed earth that can stand for years, layered with tunnels and chambers. To Suri, each one is simply a meal waiting to be found. She learns to test a mound before committing to it, a light scrape of claws to judge how fresh it is. An abandoned mound isn't worth the effort. An active one, full of movement, is. Her sense of smell guides nearly everything she does, far more than her small, weak eyes ever could. In the dark of the forest floor, scent is a more reliable map than sight will ever be. One night, Suri is foraging alone for the first time. She works methodically, moving from one termite mound to the next, tracking scent through the dark. She doesn't notice the shift in the leaf litter behind her. A reticulated python has been drawn by her movement, one of the pangolin's natural predators in this forest. Leopards, tigers, and hyenas hunt other pangolin species elsewhere across Asia and Africa. Here in the undergrowth, it is the python that finds her first. It strikes fast, coiling around her before she can run. Suri has no claws to fight with here, no teeth, no real speed to escape on. She has only the one defense she was born with. She pulls in tight, chin tucked, scales locked over every soft, unprotected part of her body. The python tightens its coils, searching for an opening, a seam, a weakness. There isn't one. Overlapping scales turn her into something closer to armor than flesh. The python probes again, jaws testing the edges of her shell. Suri lashes her tail, sharp-edged and unpredictable, forcing the snake back each time it tries. If the threat pressed closer, she could also release a sharp-smelling fluid from glands near her tail. A last deterrent few predators want to face twice. Minutes pass like this, neither animal moves far. Even a python's crushing strength struggles to find purchase on keratin plates layered this tightly. Eventually, the python loosens its grip. There is no meal here worth the effort, and no opening worth the risk. It withdraws into the undergrowth, and the forest goes quiet again. Suri stays curled long after the danger has passed, scales still locked, body still. When she finally uncurls, she is unharmed, only shaken. She digs her own burrow that night for the first time without her mother nearby. It is smaller than her mother's, but it is hers. In the weeks that follow, she forages with more confidence, covering more ground each night. She no longer waits to be shown where the termites are. She has learned to read the forest floor herself, the smell of a nest, the texture of disturbed soil. Survival for a pangolin rarely looks dramatic. It looks like patience. It looks like knowing exactly when to stand still and let armor do the work. Suri is now a sub-adult, fully capable of living on her own. Her mother has already moved on to another burrow, another stretch of territory. This is simply how pangolins live. Solitary, largely unseen, most encounters brief and then forgotten. She will likely cross paths with another pangolin only rarely, and only briefly for the rest of her life. Even so, she is never entirely without company. The insects she leaves undisturbed, the soil she turns, the burrow she abandons all ripple outward into lives she will never witness. Across Asia and Africa, pangolins like Suri quietly shape the forests around them. By digging burrows and breaking open insect mounds, they turn and aerate the soil. Their abandoned burrows go on to shelter other animals long after the pangolin has moved on. By controlling ant and termite populations, they keep the forest floor in balance. Scientists call this a keystone role. Remove the pangolin and the forest itself begins to change. And yet pangolins remain among the least studied mammals on Earth. Much of their behavior, their movements, their true numbers is still a mystery to science. Even simple methods like counting burrows can be unreliable, since a single pangolin may dig several in just a few days. What is not a mystery is the threat they face. Pangolins are the most trafficked mammal in the world, hunted for their scales and meat. Their scales, despite being made of the same keratin as human fingernails, are wrongly prized in some traditional medicine. All 8 species are now listed as threatened, and international trade in pangolins has been banned since 2016. Habitat loss adds to the pressure, as forests are cleared and fragmented for farmland, roads, and timber. Suri will likely live her entire life without a human ever seeing her. That has always been the pangolin's way, hidden, patient, and easy to overlook. But somewhere in the dark of the forest floor tonight, she is still there. Digging, surviving, continuing a story 80 million years in the making. Long after the sun rises and the forest wakes to other sounds, she will already be curled asleep, unseen, waiting for the next night to begin again.